It all began with a dusty box in the attic. For most of my life, I never questioned my mother's past. She was quiet, reserved, a woman who smiled when others were looking but carried an invisible weight in her eyes. My father had passed away when I was only 8 years old. Or at least, that's what I had always been told. Mother never spoke of him. Whenever I asked, she would say, "Some truths are better left in silence." But silence has a way of echoing. One rainy evening, as the thunder rolled across the sky, I found myself climbing into the attic. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, just some old blankets. But tucked beneath a stack of yellowed newspapers and brittle photo albums was a small, leather-bound diary. The initials on the cover made my heart skip. Yar, my mother's name, Eleanor Rose. I hesitated, my hands trembling. Reading someone's diary felt like trespassing into their soul. But curiosity pressed harder than guilt. I opened it. May 14, 1997. Today I made the hardest decision of my life. If anyone ever reads this, forgive me. I am not who my child believes I am. The truth, it would destroy everything. I froze. What truth? What could be so terrible that she needed to hide it in ink, buried in the dark of an attic? I turned the page, my pulse racing. The diary painted a picture of my mother I had never known. She had grown up in a small coastal town, wild and free. But at 22, she fell in love with a man her family disapproved of. His name appeared again and again, Daniel. She wrote about their secret meetings by the lighthouse, their whispered promises under starlit skies. And then one entry shattered me. I am pregnant. Daniel doesn't know yet. He will be thrilled. But my parents, oh God, they will never allow this. They already hate him. What will become of us? I felt the room tilt. Pregnant. Could she be talking about me? The next pages grew darker. My mother wrote of arguments, threats from her parents, ultimatums. Then came the entry that made my hands shake so badly I almost dropped the diary. August 3, 1997. Daniel is gone. They told me he left town, but I don't believe them. Father said he was taken care of. I hear whispers at night, conversations that stop when I walk into the room. I think something terrible has happened, but I cannot prove it. And now, I must raise this child alone. My breath caught. My grandfather had been a stern man, intimidating, with a voice that could cut through stone. Could he have done something to Daniel? My supposed father, the man I was told had died, wasn't Daniel at all. The further I read, the heavier the truth became. September 20, 1998. My family insists I tell the child that another man is her father. They want to erase Daniel, erase what we had. They found someone suitable, someone with status. They think lies will protect us. But lies have a way of poisoning everything. I couldn't breathe. The man I mourned all my life, the one I believed to be my father, wasn't my father at all. Daniel was. The shock rattled me, but the diary wasn't finished with me yet. Years passed in her entries, and I could almost feel her pain in every word. She wrote about raising me alone, about hiding tears in the night, about keeping a smile on her face, so I would never see her breaking. And then came the final pages. March 2, 2010. The nightmares don't stop. I see Daniel at the lighthouse, calling to me. Sometimes I think he's still alive. Sometimes I think he'll come for us. If my child ever reads this, know the truth. You are Daniel's daughter. And the people you called family, they may know what happened to him. I dropped the diary onto the attic floor, my heart thundering louder than the rain on the roof. My whole life had been a carefully woven lie. My father hadn't died. He had disappeared. And my mother suspected her own family was behind it. Sleep was impossible that night. The next morning, I confronted my mother. I brought the diary to the kitchen table, slid it toward her, and asked, "Is it true?" Her face drained of color. She didn't even try to deny it. Tears welled in her eyes, and for the first time, she looked fragile, not the strong, silent woman I had always known. "Yes," she whispered. "It's all true. Daniel was your father. He loved you before you were even born. But they didn't want him near us. I never knew exactly what happened to him. Only that he vanished, and my parents forbade me to ever speak his name again." My chest tightened. "So all these years you lied to me." I was protecting you, she said softly. If you knew the truth, you might have gone looking. And I couldn't risk losing you too. I thought the story ended there, with grief, with betrayal, with unanswered questions. But 2 weeks later, everything changed. A letter arrived in the mail. No return address. Just my name on the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with shaky handwriting. If you want to know the truth about Daniel, come to the lighthouse. Midnight. Alone. My hands went cold. Who sent this? Was it a cruel prank, or had someone finally decided to speak after all these years? Against my mother's pleas, I went. The lighthouse stood like a ghost against the crashing waves. The wind whipped my hair as I climbed the stairs, my flashlight trembling in my hand. At the top, a figure stood in the shadows. Who are you? I demanded. The man stepped into the light. His face was weathered, scarred by time, but his eyes, God, his eyes, looked exactly like mine. I am Daniel, he said. I staggered back, my breath caught in my throat. That's impossible. You're dead, they said. They lied. He cut me off. His voice was rough, but steady. Your mother's family wanted me gone. They threatened me, beat me, and left me for dead. But I survived. I couldn't return. Not without putting both of you in danger. So I disappeared. For 25 years I stayed in the shadows. But now you're old enough to know the truth. Tears blurred my vision. All those years of wondering, mourning a man who wasn't my father, resenting my mother for her silence. Only to find the truth standing in front of me. Why now? I asked, my voice breaking. Because I couldn't stay away any longer, he said. Because you deserve to know who you really are. And because the people who tried to bury the past, they're no longer alive to silence me. When I returned home that night, diary in hand and tears streaming down my cheeks, my mother was waiting. When she saw him, when she saw Daniel step into the room, her face crumbled. She whispered his name like a prayer. The years of silence were over. The lies unraveled. And though the truth was heavier than any of us could bear, it was finally ours to hold. My mother's diary had revealed the truth about us. But it was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of finally living it.